All right, good morning. If you see me and you're on live, please say something. Say, I'm here. Hello. Tell us where you're tuning in from. Okay, my name is Robin Whitworth. I am CEO of Elevated Mother Experience, the Solid Ground Mastermind, and the creator of this community that is it's growing like wildfire. It's really awesome. Some people say, yeah, this group's small. There's only, 900 or whatever. What's beautiful you'll find if you're a member here is that this group is highly curated. We asked you to answer specific questions before you joined. And if you don't meet those questions, we actually don't let you in. So if you're like wanting, there's some people sitting in there that we've asked to answer the questions and they just aren't, so they aren't going to be able to come in here. We want this to be a safe place where we can talk about vulnerable things, where we can move energy, and by curating who comes in here, that's how we do that. So again, if you're watching live, I see there's a few people popping on. Please put your name, say, hey, I'm here in the comments. Let me find my notes here so I can pull them over to another screen so I can look at you guys while I'm talking and seeing my notes here. At least I think we can do that. Serena, she's here. Thank you so much for putting something in the comments. She's so obedient. She's listening. If you're here watching live, please say something in the comments. Say I'm here for the replay if you're watching the replay. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and get started. I've introduced myself. So I expressed in my post, a lot of you saw the post go up where I talked about when I was a young mother. I still think I'm a young mother, but I mean, I'm starting to see some of my friends become grandmothers, and that's weird for me. But when I was a young mother with 3 little ones, I had my first 3 pretty quick. And then I took a nice 4-year mental sabbatical from having babies. And I did that actually again after my 4th. I thought he was my last. I'm like, I'm not doing this again. This is mentally so hard. And at that stage with the 3 little ones, well, anyway, I'll finish that story. I waited another 4.5 years to have my last one. And I have no regrets. In fact, I often share that it is my opinion that a little bigger of a break between kids helps moms that are similar to me, that a lot going on, just we needed some space. We need some space to get back to sleep, all those things. But when I had those 3 little kids, it was really hard for me. Guys, this was the hardest when I think about my life as a whole, from 0, almost my 40th birthday. When I look at my entire life, 4 decades, that was by far, like way over here, the hardest season of my life. Harder than teenagers, like when I was a teen, harder than anything. It was harder than anything when I had those 3 little kids. And there's a lot of variables. That could have changed that, but ultimately it was my perspective of what was happening. But physically, I wasn't well. Like, I had these 3 babies and they're babies. So they're dependent. They have a lot of needs. We're up in the night. We had one that had a lot of medical issues. And it was just like, we're in and out of the hospital stays. I've got these kids. It was just, and you don't plan on that. Like, some people are like, why did you have those many kids if you had medical issues? Some of them didn't come until they were like 2 years old. Okay. But it was really hard for me. I struggled in that season, mentally, physically, spiritually, financially. Those were by far the hardest years we've ever had in our entire 22 marriage. Like, it was so hard. I was struggling. And I'd be struggling with one of my kids, and I'm sure it was a well-meaning person, but often these more seasoned moms would be like, oh, that stage, it's so tiring. Just wait till they're teenagers. And I was like, at the time, I didn't have the awareness to be like, that's not very helpful. So I'm just going to throw that away. I actually took it in and was like, is it really going to get harder than this? like, what are they talking about? Like, is it really going to, has anyone been there? Has anyone received unsolicited parenting advice or thoughts or beliefs that your mom, your grandma, your neighbor, your culture, like people just like put out there, like, here you go, I want to share this, and you're just like, okay, am I the only one? I would love, if you're on the replay, whatever, like share if you've ever had that experience where, yay, Christy's here. Like people tell you stuff that you're like, did I ask you? And sometimes I did find myself like, man, is it really harder when they're teenagers? And luckily, I did have some people that shared with me that they're like, it's a different struggle, but I don't believe that you have to say it's harder. And I remember those kind of comments were so much more helpful to me to be like, oh, maybe I have a choice here. Maybe I have a choice in how hard this is. And during those first three, right, they got me as a mom until I had my fourth. And once I had my fourth, right after I had him, was when I began my awakening, my journey of, do I have more say in my life than I thought I did? How can I have different results in my life, right? This mindset journey that I've been on was right after I had my fourth. So my fourth and fifth kid have grown up with a much more expansive mom, much more emotionally available, just a lot more spiritually, like physically healthy mother than my first three had in those beginning first 12 years of our life as a family. And so I was in this big struggle, things were happening. And what I see now is that when I started that journey of self-perception, self-awareness, changing things, that's when my first was starting to be, she was a preteen. When I started all this, she was like 9-10, right? Kind of in the tween stage. And I had been struggling with her. She would cry at school in like third grade. She would take on people's energy. I was like, oh, she's so sensitive. She's so this, she's so that. What I didn't understand is one of the concepts that I'm going to teach you guys today that you've maybe heard me teach about it before. Thank you for sharing your thoughts, Serena. So beautiful. And I'm going to teach you three main concepts. So if you're taking notes, I love to have numerical, ways of organizing our thoughts. I'm going to teach you three main concepts. And this first one is about mirror triggers. So my oldest was, she was so sensitive, so this, so that, and I now recognize that she was having experiences, but I was looking at it from my experience. When we hear it laid out like this, we're like, oh yeah, but really think about this, ladies, get really honest. I was thinking about it from my experience. I was thinking, well, when I was 9, I never did that. When I was 10, my mom would have been like I was having these experiences subconsciously. I can talk about it now like this, but in the moment, it wasn't like that. I wasn't aware that that's what I was doing. But you are on this class, you can start being aware. So when my daughter would come crying to me, having such serious experiences at school, like, Mom, the teacher, this is one of them, the teacher didn't let Dallin out for recess because he didn't do his homework. But Mom, I know he doesn't have a mom at home to help him do his homework, and I just feel so bad for him. So I stayed in from recess and I've been helping him. So I never did recess. And I'm sitting here going, oh my gosh, she has a problem. So then, being the moms we are and having the internet, We want to look up ideas like childhood anxiety. We want to look up ideas about childhood depression. And we want to look up all these ideas. And I'm not judging them. I'm just saying this was my experience. Let me have my lived experience, okay? But I know that moms tend to compare and judge. So I'm going to use that language because it's helpful for us. But what was happening is I was having a mirror trigger of like, oh, when I was really struggling as a kid, I felt like, man, I was struggling. And then I think of my brain tries to think of things like, this is what my mom would have said, and this is what my experience would be. And oh my gosh, this is so hard. All of a sudden, I've taken responsibility for my daughter's experience. You might say, well, isn't that what we do as caregivers? No. Your job as a caregiver is to keep them safe, keep them in places where they can expand and grow. They're clothed, they're fed, right? But to take their experience as your own is not very helpful. A lot of parents believe, usually because it's a generational belief, that they have some kind of hold on their child's agency. Like, oh, their choices mean something about me. If my kid is smoking under the bleachers, that means something about me. If my kid is the bully on the playground, that means something about me. Do you see how we take responsibility for the experience that they're having and judgments that are made on them by other people? This is not helpful. This is my first concept, guys. This is mirror triggers. This is you saying, I am them having this experience. What should I do about it? Guys, you can have a lot of peace in your life when you let your kid have their own life. Like really, and really think about what that means to you. Because I will tell you that mirror triggers, where you're seeing it and it's triggering you in the way that you would be triggered if that were to happen to you, okay? These are most often, I've read enough books and studies that I know that there are a million therapists that believe this too, okay? Mirror triggers are often most often the catalyst to miscommunication and misunderstanding. Whether that's in any relationship, whether that's with your mom, your husband, your neighbor, your kid. Write that down. Mirror triggers are most often the catalyst to miscommunication and misunderstanding in any relationship. We take the experience of someone else and make it ours. We make it mean something about us. We try to figure it out about us. That's the problem with listening. That's why they say, listen to listen. Don't listen to respond. Did you hear that? Listen, you could even say, listen to hear, don't listen to respond. I know I've said that in a couple classes before. This is a great skill, friend. Like, especially with teenagers, what we're talking about today. Listen to hear them. Don't listen to respond. Because if you're hearing what someone's saying, and your brain's going, oh, this is what I would do. Oh, this is what I would do. Oh, this is the advice I want to give. And you are mirroring their experience, taking it into you, and you are going to tell them what you would do. This is passing beliefs on. This is passing our generational energy on. You are not allowing that person any personal space. You guys probably know people like this, that they just go off and off and off on what they think and what they do. And it can be useful, but a lot of times we kind of sit there like, like, I didn't ask for any of that, like, I don't even think they heard what I said because they're going off on some whatever, and this is what I was talking about, right? So learn that mirror triggers are most often the catalyst to miscommunication and misunderstanding in any relationship. That understanding and awareness alone will help you in your marriages. So many things and listening to hear, listen to your spouse. Don't listen with, they're judging me, I'm going to do this, like, it's just not helpful. So remember these things about your children. And again, this can go for any age, whether they're 2 or 55. I have had clients that are in their late 60s and early 70s, like they still can learn this skill. This can still be useful for you if you have not learned this, if you're struggling in your relationships, okay? So remember that person, whoever it is not you. They're not seeing the experience the way you're seeing it. Their experience is real to them. You can't tell your kid, oh, we don't cry about that. They might really feel like this is a reason to cry. Like in their lived experience, this is something that they don't want to cry about. So telling them they shouldn't cry about something is, you better be very careful. Like, it's saying, I wouldn't cry about that. Let them have their real, valid, lived experience, because when you often disregard their experience, trust just gets chipped away. Mom doesn't, and then when they're teens, you hear, mom doesn't understand me. Mom doesn't know. Mom, you don't know anything. That's where that comes from, is a mom that continually disregards the real lived experience of their child. That child just is like, well, my mom just doesn't understand them. And then when they become teens, that's their belief. It's so important. Now, if you've done that up until this point, I have hope for you. Keep going on the call, okay? But just remember, they are not you. This is all under this first concept of mirror triggers. They are not you. Their experience is valid to them. Ask yourself before you criticize your child, like, oh, that's not how we do that, right? Or share your belief on them, like, well, this is what I think, say, ask yourself first, is this, like what I want to share, always true for everyone? If I want to say it's nicer to do X, Y, Z, and Q, but like, I'll be like, you know what? Is that always true in every culture, with every person, in every situation? Is that always true? Because most of the time, if I've taken the time to ask that question, it's not. What I was about to say is actually not true in every essence. And that's where I lean on the gospel, because Jesus Christ taught universal law. And so I think, if Jesus was literally right here, what would he do with this situation with my kid? It's so beautiful in Christianity, you guys. It's so awesome that we have this perfect example here, okay? I love this. This is Jesus, by the way. We say, is this always true for everyone? What I'm about to say, is this what Jesus believed? And if I'm like, man, I don't even know. Wow, what a great way to structure your personal gospel study. I don't know what Jesus would do about this. Let me go study it, because it's there. It's all there, okay? And then I have to go, if this isn't true in every situation, what can I do here? Be really, really honest with yourself. Is this just what my mom taught me? Or, introspection is such a highly underrated skill. But ask yourself, is this always true? Are people always kind when, they lose the soccer game? Or they always have good sportsmanship? Okay, if that's not always true, then I get to ask my child, how do you feel right now? What do you feel you want to do? What do you feel about this? Really climb into their camp and see what they're feeling. What are they experiencing? Because I'll tell you this one experience, and this came up in a coaching call inside the Elevated Mother Experience program just yesterday, I believe. And a mom was talking about trying to help her kid listen. And I was expressing to her that there was one time where I was getting really good at this, and my daughter was just really not doing. Are you hearing what I'm asking you to do? And I got on her level. I looked at her and I said, look, I have asked you to do this. You're not doing it, like, over and over. This is the third time I'm coming around to you on this. Like, can you hear me? Do you have an earache? And I really looked at her like, can you hear me? Do you hear the words that are coming out of my mouth? And she's like, yeah, but I forgot. And I'm like, you forgot? But this is the third time. What are you thinking right now? Before I came up to you, like, what were you thinking when you were sitting here? And she goes, well, Mom, yesterday in class, on the recess on the playground, one of my friends fell off the monkey bars and broke her arm, and she screamed, and it was scary. And the doctor, the parents had come, and they took her to the hospital, and she wasn't there. And I've been so worried about her. This is her real lived experience. And I'm just thinking my child is being neglectful and she's not listening, or, like really living, right? Making this about me. Oh, kids listening to me, the disrespect, right? When I really got on her level and was like, oh, yeah, that would be pretty distracting in your brain. Let's talk about that. We sat there on the floor in the middle of the living room, and I was like, well, how are you feeling? What happened? And I sat in there with her, and we felt it together, and I helped her to sit in her emotion and think through that. And guess what? I didn't even have to ask her again. She just popped up and went and did the task that I had asked her to do before. You see the value in like just taking a little bit of time to be like, okay, could there be anything else going on here? And I'll tell you, as teenagers, this skill is gold. Gold, gold, gold. It's not, why are you so late? It's, man, it seems like you're dragging this morning. Tell me about that. Like, is there anything on your mind? Validate their experience, like see them, fully see them, and be that safe space where you listen, then listen to what they say and believe them, right? So that's the first concept. Is this helpful? Is anybody getting some good notes? Like, I want to hear, like, you guys ready for concept number 2? Yes? I'm excited to share with you this next concept. And this is in our vault of videos for the Elevated Mother Experience. This concept number 2 is the first like part of your experience. We dive a little deeper into this. So who's on? Who can tell me? Are we ready for concept 2? We're going into the different ages of humans, okay? Understanding when human beings actually develop their self-concept. You've studied psychology, therapies, like there's a broad window. So if you have a different idea than I do, take it with a grain of salt. This is what I understand. This is what I've employed. This is what I'm teaching. Okay. So I learned that from 0 to 7, kids form their most basic values. They form trust levels, security levels, what they value the most in life. That might be family connection. That might be security. Do I feel secure? It might be trust. It might be a myriad of different things. But by age 7, they've got kind of their core values that they are probably going to take with them into adulthood most of the time. They want to please their caregiver. Okay. They want to take on their beliefs so that they please their caregiver. So from 0 to 7, a lot of times we took on everything our parents gave us, whether it was positive, negative, whatever, whether it was limiting or abundance, we took it on. So if they were scared about money, we took on, oh, we should be scared for money. If they didn't think grandma and grandpa were nice people, we don't think grandparents are very nice people, right? We did a lot of this from 0 to 7. And at age 6 to 7 or 6 to 8, tell me if this lines up with your experience. This is when they start to have more of an awareness of their self-concept of, I actually have some say here. They do. They start to become aware. This is when they'll start having little lies. They lie, they take stuff, they're starting to like, oh, well, if she did that, then I could do that way. Like they start to have these little ideas about this. And they start keeping secrets. And this is when I laugh, I'm smiling because I call it, this is when they have the lamest excuses. Like they come up with the lamest reasons for things in this little time period. I'm going to refresh my page really quick. Make sure we're still connected here. They have the lamest excuses for things. You'll be like, how come you didn't get this? And they're like, well, because my friend, and they're trying their hardest to still please you. And yet they have this more concept of the way they can manipulate their lives, right? And just yesterday, my little 6.5-year-old was trying to tell me she wanted an Oreo. And I said, how much? In my house, I call it live food, like fruits and vegetables, things that like have like nourishment. They're not processed, right? I call them live foods and dead foods. I'm like, how much live foods have you had? She's like, oh, I had a nectarine at lunch. And I'm like, you had hot lunch today? She goes, yeah. I said, I happen to know that the school doesn't serve nectarines. And she was like, I could see her little eyes moving. I'm like, man, she's totally lying. I don't know. I was like, the school doesn't serve nectarines. And she goes, well, I had an old bag in my cubby of nectarines that I ate. Guys, everyone else Christy, thank you for relating. Like, and I'm like, honey, a cut up nectarine doesn't last in a baggie for more than like a day. And the last time I cut you up a nectarine was last week. And she's like, no, it lasted, mom. Okay, this is what I'm talking about, guys. Lame excuses. They're so lame that you just sit there and laugh inside because you're like, wow, this is painful. How hard this 6-year-old is trying to convince me that she ate this nectarine so she can have this Oreo. Like, it's amazing the lengths they will go. If anybody has any other stories, share them. Okay, motherhood's funny. Anyway, so this happens at 6 and 7. When we get to age 8, which often is not just in religious context, but in psychological context, they call it the age of accountability. The age at which they truly can see cause and effect. They can start taking full accountability at this age. They can. You can say, you did that thing. You could see what you were doing. Let's talk about it and take accountability for this. Okay. It does not mean they know all the right and wrong answers. It means they're capable to know. So if you can talk to them about their consequence and they can start taking accountability, saying, oh, she's crying. I impacted that. I will go give her a hug. So be aware that if you've got kids under the age of 7 and you're really hard on them about what they should know or not know, just know that they really have a hard time with that concept until they're like 8, 9. So between 8 and 13 is their first awakening of sorts of like, I can take accountability for what's happening. And what can I do? How much say do I have in my life? Where do I want to belong? Where do I feel good? They're actually starting to think about this subconsciously. They're not thinking those words like, what are you thinking right now? And they're like, oh, I wonder where I belong. Like they're not thinking that. Okay. But they subconsciously, the brain is open to those kinds of ideas, right? When we're talking about brain development, it's when our brain can accept or reject an idea that's already flowing in the universe. An adult idea, like really out here, it's like long-term investing. It's up there. And somebody that's like 25 could catch that idea and do something with it, but an 8-year-old won't. Okay. So there's ideas floating around the universe, like what makes me feel good and what's this thing and how much say do I have in my life, start to become ideas they can entertain. So this is when they start forming their deepest best friends. This is when they start maybe getting into a gang. This is when they want to join the basketball team the most. This is like, are you guys seeing this? This is from like age 7, 8 to like 14, right in here. This is also, if you want to get physical, like their brain has literally started to shift and change to accept these ideas. The synapses shift, they call it myelination of the brain, the actual energetic, like, so the brain has this fat layer. During this stage of puberty and self-concept, the fat layer shifts and gives a lot more energy to the brain as the synapses change and grow, and they have a lot more long-term memory. They have all these things are shifting and changing. So if your kid acts like they're like 2 one day, and then they all of a sudden do this great thing when they're 12, and you're like, oh, why did you have a meltdown yesterday? Just realize their brain literally is kind of going like this. This understanding alone brought a lot of peace to my life. Anybody else? Like, I was like, oh, when my kid's freaking out and being weird, I don't have to go Google if they need to be medicated. I'm not saying that's not the case all the time, but for a lot of people, guys, if we just know this, I call it mushy brain stage. They will think about things to the very extreme parameters because they're trying to figure this out. Their subconscious mind is like sifting through deep thoughts sometimes. They'll start to have waves of deep anger and aggression, waves of a lot of emotion. They'll be crying and they think, depending on the beliefs you've given them, am I broken? Is something wrong with me? Do I have to hide this behavior? Like, this is going on. This is going on for them. God bless them. And as moms, this is the time, okay? Like, you got to realize that when they're going through this transformation of self-concept, you are literally If you ever watched a video game and you're like the active person, and then there's like these passive people, there's a name for them. Does anyone know? And you can put it in the chat. It's like my kids joke about it, like non-player something, NP something. Anyway, you are like that to them at this stage. They totally take for granted the food you give them, the clothes you give them. They just do. Just know. That's expected to them in this culture in America, right? That's expected to them, that you will be the one that helps to facilitate their food, like whatever it is. Like the computer just supplies them with new life. The computer just supplies them with that next axe or whatever they need, right? You are that to them. You just supply this as long as they like keep showing up, right? So realize that you are not their friend like this. You're not their little friend in fifth grade. You are not their basketball peer. You're just not. You are this person out here that just gives them stuff. like they just are. And they believe they can manipulate you to give them different things. So if they cry and have a meltdown, they'll get emotional energy from you that they want, that will then give them, something. Okay. So they'll have more meltdowns. You might have screaming matches. Hypervigilance might show up where they feel like they have to do something to be able to belong to the family. Like if I don't do this, and they might even keep it in their head. They may not say it all. They'll be that quiet child that like lives in anxiety. And it's not that they need to be medicated for the anxiety. They may need mom to just sit down with them and be emotionally available. Just be like, hey, what's going on? Get it out on paper. And that might be all they need. So anxieties and depression can show up. Friend struggles start to show up. They don't even know who they are, where they belong. Like this is an age to lean in to having experiences with your child. So this is the second concept, right? That I'm teaching you is learning these ages of self-concept. During this time of 8 to 14, really prioritize being with them as much as possible. I know they say in 0 to 7, that's important. And I think it is too, but to me, in my experience, and this is the class I'm teaching, this age is even so much more. Go to the soccer game, go to the basketball game. Yes, take time off to go to their track meet. Like really lean into being with them often, because you will get more and more clues, okay, and be available. I'm saying this because I can't tell you how many parents say they're being supportive, but they're on their phone the whole time. The kids know that. They are not oblivious. And then they get on their phone at home and you get mad at them. I see this, guys. I see it. And it does not make sense to them. So they will fight it. Like, dude, you were on your phone during my entire soccer game and I can't be on my phone right now during dinner. It's not fair, right? They'll say that. It's not fair. Dinner's important to you. Soccer's important to me. You didn't show me that, right? Like, be aware of this, guys. This is you modeling. Step into experiences with them. This is the time. This is the time. This is the time to prioritize being with them. And if you've got older kids, do it now. Prioritize those important events to them. If their kid's getting baptized, show up. If their kid's graduating from high school, show up. Start being the face that they remember. They will remember who was there at their wedding. They will remember the face that was there that was important to them. And if you're their mom, you are important to them. Okay. So remember that they cannot perceive at this age. They can't. It is impossible. They cannot perceive long-term consequences in this stage of brain development. So talking to them like, if you start stealing now, it's going to affect you when you're 25. That doesn't go anywhere to them in this stage. And if you guys think back to like your middle school years, it was all about you, right? You were in your own head all the time. like it was all about you, really. Everyone was looking at you. All the teachers were looking at you. Everyone, right? It was all you with these like, everything was against you. That's what it can feel like. That's the belief system that I was in subconsciously. It's like, oh, all of this is something I can't have any control over. It just is. And so it isn't helpful to talk about like long-term consequences of this age. Just be as emotionally and physically present as possible. Okay. If you need to go take them out to lunch during their lunchtime at school or whatever, go do it. This is the age that that particular behavior will go really far. Okay. And the second awakening, we're almost to concept 3, which is really short. The second awakening is between ages 14 and 21. For girls, their prefrontal cortex starts to get more synapses. They can actually think long-term. Anyone that's had a brain injury here, they struggle with short-term memory loss and long-term memory. This is only fully formed for girls between the ages of 18 and 21, for guys between the ages of 19 and 22 or 23. Men, it's just different between the female and the male species, how their brain develops with their puberty and different stuff like that, okay? So if you've got a son that's like 19 or 20 and they're totally acting like a knothead, it's not done. It's just not done. It's not finished here, actually fully developing to where they can think real long term and actually think, oh, 5 years from now. Your teenager does not. They just do whatever their coach says, whatever mom said. Like, they really don't. So just be aware that from 14 to like their early 20s or whatever, like 18, 19, 20, is their second awakening. When the brain is done with its basic synapses building that it did during puberty. And then this is a really great time to begin offering them adult language, full accountability, full trust. Like, if you've ever thought you had control over their agency or their choices, it's gone. It is gone all the way. Like, this will not help you to believe that in this stage. Okay. And so knowing this with my teens, I will offer them opportunities to like partner up with me, right? Hey, can you go pick up your sister from soccer at this time? That would help me out a ton. Partner with them at this stage. And if you've got a really resistant teenager, you may get to just like back off as much as possible. Because if you had another adult roommate, how would you respect their privacy, their time, whatever, right? We're still the caregiver, but see it more as a partnership versus trying to make it either a parent or friend. I hear a lot of people separate that. Well, you're not their friend, you're their parent. And it's like, well, I want to be a friendly parent. What do I do? I say, just partner with them at this time. During this second awakening, when they are like, oh, I actually do have all the say in my life. This is no longer an experiment or I actually see myself and I see that other people are active in my life. This is when the non-player concept goes away and they actually see, oh, I could ask them mentorship. I could go to college. I could play on this team. I could go live here. Like, they're actually starting to see themselves in the future and see that other people could be helpful to them. And so this is the time that you want to partner with them on things. Hey, do you want to do this together? You're responsible for that piece. Start partnering with them. It builds that trust. It builds mutual respect. And this leads me to my last concept. Okay. Always keep your word. Keep your word. If you don't want them on phones and you say screen time is so important in our family, you better model that. If you say keeping our rooms tidy is important in our family, you model that. If you say, you better show up when I show up because I don't know where you are and I get worried, you better show up when they expect you to show up. If you say, I'm done with work at 5, and then you don't, sorry, someone's calling me, and you don't show up for 15 extra minutes, we can then have grace and say, man, traffic was really bad. And so when they're late to dinner 15 minutes, extend that same grace. Once they're in this later teenage years, right? Like past 14, 15, 16, like, I'm serious, partner with them. They're going to have their meltdowns. They're going to have moments, but respect their, just like a partnership, as much as possible. And offer that emotional support as much as possible. But I'm telling you, your degree of presence is king in these years. So me learning the skill of how to be emotionally present for my kids, how to be that safe space with all my stuff going on has been the chief shifter for everything. Like, what are my mirror triggers? What's the concept that me and my kid are going through? How emotionally available am I here? Like, really taking full ownership of my life. Too many parents haven't done that. They're not taking full, honest ownership of their life. And the kid then grows up without a really good model of how to take full ownership of their life. They learn to blame their mom. They learn that mom should do this thing because mom blamed grandma, because dad blames a neighbor. Like, they see this. If we can take full ownership and be committed, we learn that there's no room to judge our child. And this last concept of always keeping our word also goes into, remember, you're not their savior or their judge. That's Jesus here. Separating you from Jesus is going to be very, very awesome for you. Let them see Jesus as the one that gets to help them through the things that are so hard. You are not their savior. You are not their judge. Don't take that on. Jesus never said parents should judge their children. Parents should save their children. That's not a teaching in the gospel. He says you raise them in love with firmness so that they're safe. Okay? And if you've never done a study on parenting in the gospels, go do one. Think of parenting concepts when you're reading the parables and you're reading the teachings. It's beautiful. So always with a teenager, you guys, this is my last little piece of advice. Always ask permission before you share what you think with them. Before you give them a solution, ask permission. Is this not what you would do respectfully with another person? That unsolicited advice, wouldn't that have been better if I had asked for it? Right? This is how they would love to be treated. Always ask permission before you share what you think or a belief you want to share with them. Hey, would you like to hear what I know about this? Hey, are you open to hearing what I think about that? Would you like help with this? Or is this just something that you've shared with me because you'd like some support? And what does that support look like for you? What do you need? Ask them. Do not assume anything here. It will not be helpful. And I just wanted to invite you that if you're like, man, I would love to learn some more of these skills so that I can then change my generations and have less judgmentalness, have more compassion, have more fun, have more peace and lightness through these years with teens, then I invite you to consider joining the Elevated Mother Experience. There is another way that you can live. There's another way you can learn about your own, how much you're taking ownership for your life, the agency in which you're choosing your reality to be. Because as you shift, I guarantee it 1,000 million, 100%, it affects your children. The ripple effect is real. Even with our clients who are in their 60s, the ripple effect of their shift changed their children and their grandchildren. One changed mom ripples out because moms have a beautiful divine power of influence. So I invite you to join the experience to shift this experience that you're having. If that's something you'd like to consider, you can always message me. You can always go to, actually, I don't think we have the link at the top. You can message me and say, hey, I'd like to have a little chat on like, this is happening for me. Do you guys have a class on this? Is there a resource you've already given? And we will share that with you. We can even have you put a word in the chat. Let's do that. If you feel like you'd like to have a chat with us about what it's really like inside the program, we have a page of testimonials we can show you, like all sorts of stuff. So if you're like, I would like to just have a chat and see what resources you guys can share with me, then put chat, the word chat, CHAT, in the chat box, and we can get on a call and talk about different stuff and see if there's a class we've already done on whatever struggle you're doing. Or if you're like, dude, I'm interested in the program, then we'll still chat with you and we'll say, hey, are you interested in like, what kind of plan would we put in place for you to accomplish whatever it is you're trying to accomplish alongside motherhood? And we will lay that out for you. And that's called a strategy call. So either way, put chat down there in the chat box and one of us will reach out and see where you're at, what you'd like to do. I hope this was helpful. I think teens are really fun. Partnering with them has been key. All these things. Go back and watch this, get the nuggets out of it. Have an awesome, awesome weekend, my friends.